Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Pat and Paul Show, episode 22, 21. Sorry. We are ready to rock and roll. You know, there's a lot to get into today, this morning. Obviously, we're going to react to what happened last night. If you're from Paul's side of the state, you're excited. If you're from this side of the state, you're crying near your pillow still of what happened because everyone went to the broomsticks and they over jinxed themselves. And of course, we are going to. I have Paul here, obviously the college football guru. So he's got his pen and paper because I'm asking Paul to do a simple job. He's going to teach her. He's got the great papers out. He's going to stomp out the winners and losers from the draft, especially with this NFC East. We're going to go over that. We're going to go over what the Birds did, what the Cowboys did. We're going to break that all down. And then, of course, at 9:45, we have our man, Aaron Bracey, book writer of the score season of the St. Joe's Prep and so forth. So, last night, the Philadelphia Flyers looking to end this series, looking to shut it out. But, however, I sniffed something out. I sniffed this was going to be a jinx because I think the Flyers were feeding off this fan base, bought into everything, and they thought they probably had this won in the game. However, I think they overlooked the experience of Sidney Crosby, the LeBron James of hockey. He's going to get it just like yesterday. He got his calls. He was scoring, and that's what happens. The Philadelphia Flyers made a couple crucial mistakes yesterday in the game where you had the goalie interference by Devin Barkey, and then Sidney Crosby took liberties and scored the goal, and the booing didn't help this man whatsoever because that just infuriates him, man. He laughs at that kind of stuff. And then last night, Danny Vidar, the goaltender, making a rookie mistake, coming in, going behind the net, trying to make a play with no teammates there, and here comes the Penguins come scoop that up and making them pay the piper. And now going up, they went up 2-0. Flyers looking like, oh, bleep, we're in a lot of trouble. Flyers came back, putting, sluggish start in the first period. But in the second period, the Philadelphia Flyers battled back, brought a lot of offensive pressure. Got a goal in there from Devin Barkey, getting his first career postseason goal. Third period comes rolling around. The Flyers are still carrying that offensive pressure. Travis Konechny gets his third goal. Gets a goal. Shot. He did his phenomenal job finding the back of the net. However, Chris Letang and Sidney Crosby finds Chris Letang open ice, open net, finds the back of the net. Boom. And then Chris Letang gets the open empty netter. You would have the winners is your Pittsburgh Penguins win 4-2. Paul, right now, it's I don't know what the fan base is over there. What are you gathering this morning, or if you seen from the Penguins fans?
Well, last night, Pat, I actually missed the game last night. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to say I watched it. Last night, me and the boss went out to see Michael the movie last night. But I tell you what, I live about 60 minutes from Pittsburgh, PP&G Arena, and even during the game, people were talking about the Flyers, Penguins. That's how crazy this rivalry is, of course. And, up at the popcorn stand, I had to get my popcorn on. So I'm talking to this guy, and, he's just telling me, he's like, well, at least we didn't get swept. At least we didn't get swept. The Flyers are just playing physical, hockey. The Penguins look lackluster, except for last night, just like you said. He didn't go as far as saying LeBron James, Sidney Crosby, but he was like, he's pretty damn near close to that status. But he's like, you give these guys an open window. This team can come back possibly, and it meant a lot in Philadelphia to get that win. So the door's not closed, Pat. But I tell you what, man, the door just has a barely open window right now because if the Flyers go back to playing Flyers hockey, this could be well over in Game 5, honestly.
Yeah, it could be. So already we're getting some comments in. We're getting Hockey Bob checking to the show. Good morning, Hockey Bob. He goes, Flyers looking like booty last night. No motivation, like it was going to be handed to him. And you're right, Hockey Bob. This wasn't going to be an easy game. And again, I got to give credit to the Pittsburgh Penguins for playing smart hockey. They didn't get involved and engage a fist fight. They didn't give the Flyers and they couldn't get the Flyer fans something to feed off of. They just played smart, sounded hockey. Flyers might have brought the hits and physicality. That's all great and fun. But at the end of the day, it was the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Penguins that finished the game, and they're looking to continue doing that some more. Paul, we got a question coming from you. Rack, Rack, Rack Dunn. If I'm saying your name right, I'm sorry. He says, "What's up, man? You think Cavs take today's game?"
The Cavs. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? You know what? The Cavs, I believe they do win today. I mean, Donovan Mitchell has to have a huge game today. I mean, you look at where they're at in the rankings. They were number 2 coming into the Eastern Conference. I feel the Cavs have just so much firepower right now. I believe that they're going to win this game. They're going to make a statement today because, especially with Detroit losing to Orlando, being down 2-1 right now, Cleveland has a prime ticket to get there because the 7th and 8th seed in the Eastern Conference are not that good, Pat. And they win this game here, they have an easier ride than Detroit, who is struggling right now. So I believe the Cavs, Cavs come out strong today. I mean, I think they win possibly by like 10 or 11 today, hopefully. I did take them as well.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Because it looks like Detroit's a little
Yeah.
outfield. Looks like they're
Yeah.
a little outfield.
Yeah.
Using a bunch of numbers chiming in goes the Flyers weren't as physical as the Penguins. Trap game, trap them playing their game. Listen, it was. Look, game 2, Flyers. The Penguins had the Flyers beat in the first period. The stupid mistake that they made was the fifth. They looked for a fight. They gave the Flyers this rabid Philadelphia Flyer fan base something to engage off of.
Hmm.
Last night, the Flyer fans were there. A lot of Eagle players were in the stands. Brandon Graham, everybody was there except for the Flyers. Everybody was there. I mean, I got to give it to the fan base. I mean, I got a guy who works for the Fly. Got a little inside connection to try to hook up with some ticks, and he said, "Pat, no can do. The place is pound. The place
Yeah.
is sold out." I said, "Wow." Using a bunch of numbers, also said, "Will we see Embiid on mince restrictions tonight?" Paul, I'll give you that one.
Embiid, who? Who?
Yeah.
I still think he's on a milk carton somewhere, Pat. I couldn't. If you tell me this guy will play 2 minutes, I even doubt that. Honestly, I mean, I'm just done with Embiid. Pat. I mean, to me, what you do on a court, is what you
Mhm.
do. What you do. This guy has been MIA. I don't trust the guy. I think the team is they're actually better with him, but they're better without him as well, Pat. I until I see him on the court, fully dressed in game uniform on the court with the starting 5 or back 5, then I'll believe. But to me, don't even count on this guy.
No, I'm going to save that discussion for later
Hmm.
because I got stuff I got to get off my chest about this guy. Hockey Bob also checking. He goes, "I think the Flyers win in 5. I believe the Flyers have what it takes to beat Carolina right now." Hockey Bob, I'm going to say this too. I think the Flyers kind of thought they had this win in the bag. And I think even Scott Hornell said on the commentary, he said, "I think they're looking towards Carolina." I think they kind of overdid themselves because Carolina are one. They already took the brooms. They swept out Ottawa, and I think the Flyers were trying to look like we got this. We'll be, and then it was, oh, wait a minute, it's not so easy. You heard Danny Vidar, the goaltender, saying it's hard to put away Crosby for 4 games. A sweep is hard. Rick Tocchet mentioned in the post-game interview was saying that he wasn't happy with the Flyers the way they start this game, very sluggish. I just, like I said, a couple costly mistakes. The Penguins picked up on it and it cost this team dividends.
Pat, now let me ask you. I know you're the hockey guy. I mean,
Mhm.
what's the buzz down in Philly? I mean, you asked me about Pittsburgh. We're kind of humming right now, coming off finally not being swept. I mean, how are Philadelphia Flyers fans taking this? Because man, 1, 2, and 3, you look spectacular. Then all of a sudden, the brooms possibly come out. How's the momentum changed down there in Flyer land down there?
It's. I think the Flyers are still buzzing, thinking they could close out the series.
Hmm.
But to me, because I think it's happened with this team being down 3-0 in a series, being down 3 goals in the series, and the way this team battled back in 2010. I think Flyer fans are awake. I think they know like anything can happen, and with a guy like number 87 leading the Pittsburgh Penguins, he's got the pedigree to cause his team pain and agony. And I said this multiple times. Sidney Crosby plays his best hockey in Philadelphia. I've seen this guy come up clutch plenty of times in Philly. And yesterday was just another example of that. He got a goal, he got an assist. He was battling against the boards. He saw a wide open Chris Letang, wide open. I don't know why. And he took a shot. So, I mean, I got credit to him. The only person I would tip my cap that actually would I said last night on the postgame show, I got to give this guy, Christian Dvorak, a little bit of credit because the goalie looked like he was out of place. This guy literally dove into the goalie net to make a save. If that wasn't happening, the Penguins would have had this thing wrapped up in the third quarter. Already had this thing over in 2 periods. I got to give this guy a lot. Christian Dvorak does not have goals, doesn't has a couple assists, but his detail work, the way he plays, the way his physicality, his vision on the ice, the way he dives, the way he sets screens. I mean, he's really the Flyers' backbone.
Now, Pat, you mentioned the Flyers playing their game, of course, but Pittsburgh not falling for the Jalen Carter spit game, basically not tending what did the physical play. What do the Flyers have to do in this game coming up here to win this? Do they go back to physicality? Because you said the Pittsburgh Penguins are not falling for some bogus, looking to fight. They're just playing their game, what they do best when Crosby's on the ice with Letang and things like that. Now, how do you see the Flyers coming out this game to secure the win?
I mean, obviously, stick to your games, stick to the physicality, but it's hard for me because the Penguins have the experience and knows what it takes to set plays and all that stuff. You just got to set the tone and score first. You got to get that first goal, and you have to be quicker than those guys. You have to show that you got the speed, you got the youth. Those guys are old heads, and you got to use that to the experience. And like I said, a lot of these guys I think got entrapped of the bright spot kind of atmosphere where it was like the Red October atmosphere where all eyes are on you. The building is going bananas, and you are just living in the moment where this has been another day at the beach for Crosby.
Okay.
So
Now,
you
Pat,
good.
real quick, you're the hockey guy. I barely watch a little bit. I follow a lot of stuff, but hockey's not my thing. You know that.
Yeah.
Now, with the Flyers, I mean, could this be a year, Pat, that they can get to the Stanley Cup championship? I mean, at this low seed, you're playing with house money. You're not really expected to be there. You're still kind of in a situation where like a rebuild, basically, is what I hear. Are they a Stanley Cup caliber team to get past here, get past Carolina, get past all these big four squads in the Eastern Conference? Can they do it, Pat?
So the Flyers can. I think for me, like I said, I think the Flyers can make a run out of this. The Cup, it's going to be hard because again, you still have the teams like Buffalo, who's young and up and coming. Like Buffalo is funny because Buffalo is a great story. They're another one. Was started as a bottom seeded team. Now they're a top tier team, and they're running on high. You have Montreal, led by Nick Suzuki, still a team in the prime, looking to put away a team like Tampa. So there's still a couple of teams out of the East. Yeah, I keep my eye on, but I mean they still have a good opportunity. Again, they're playing like every game's on the line, and that's the beauty part about the Flyers. They got themselves a goalie. But like compared to the other young teams that are out there, the up and coming ones, they have a shot, but it's gonna be hard. It's definitely gonna be hard.
Okay.
So like last night, I was talking with my follow too about Carolina because that's who's next. Whoever wins this series goes on to Carolina, and Carolina's obviously been one of the top tier teams of the league.
Right.
Carolina's been. But Carolina's they have guys like Sebastian Aho, and they got a lot of big buys out there who can hit in physical. But to me, Crosby falls all the time this time of year. He falls all the time of year. Tyler Dinglinger, thank you for the follow. Thank you. So yeah, we are live on all your social media platforms. Give the Pat Paul Show a follow. If it's your first time, chime in. We're talking what happened, what went down in the Keystone Battle. A lot to take away from. Flyers are going to look to bounce back in Pittsburgh. The only thing we can hope for is that Pittsburgh comes out and rallies up and does the same treatment so the Flyers can feast off.
I heard last night, Pat, they're all out eating pierogies right now, so that might be a little lackluster coming in this game 5 here, but we'll see.
Yeah, listen, the Flyers are going to have to play their game, stick to it. They're going to have to play with some motivation. They can't, they got to come out strong in the first period. You cannot let Penguins control the game. That's for now for 2 games in the first period. It belongs to the Penguins, and
Yeah,
you have to, and this is going to be Rick Tockett's bread and butter. You are the head coach. Now things have changed. You can't use, oh, we made it to the playoffs, and if we lose, that's a-okay. No, you got. I got to see where you stand now. It's playoff time. I know you got a young team that only and it elevates you. You're up 3-1 in the series. You got to finish it. If you fall apart and lose this series, I have to raise my eye a little bit. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are going to give him a mulligan and say, "Well, he took a team," and I don't want to hear that. Expectations change all the time.
right, right.
I mean, Paul. Look. I'll metaphor, right? If the Cowboys got into the playoffs,
We would definitely lose,
they're
though,
and
Pat. We
they're
would
up and
definitely
they're up
lose.
and
We
they're
would
up
definitely lose.
and they're up 27-3, and they lose that game. I'm pretty sure all that stuff in the background, those Callaway Boy posters, might be getting ripped down.
Hey, Pat, it's been 30 years. I haven't ripped them down yet, but one more year like that, yeah, there possibly this whole room's getting redone. Yeah.
might have to bring out the paint buckets and start throwing things. So yeah, like I said, this has been a great series. So I mentioned last night to my buddy Bill, who joined me, my buddy Bill Aikens from the Pittsburgh Sports Desk. He joined me, and I had said, the funny part is I grew up in a time where it was the Cowboys and Eagles for that whole '90s decade. That was the rivalry. That was Randall versus Aikman and all that other stuff. Angelo, my oldest, has been born into this rivalry, into this Keystone battle. He doesn't like that number 87. He doesn't. He thinks Crosby sucks and all that stuff. Like that's what I'm happy about. That to live through the youth of this rivalry with him.
Hmm.
So it's a great story. Like I said, the Flyers had to figure a way, had to bounce back to take this W. And like I said, the scary part is. Uh, I think the Penguins may have the antidote to push to a 6. And if it gets to a 6, I don't know. I don't know if they need to close out game 5. They should have closed it out yesterday. And I think they'll be more settled in, back to business. But I'll tell you, if the Penguins can stick to their game, look out.
I tell you, Pat, I hope the Penguins win this game because I don't know how you guys do it in Philly, but if the Penguins win during the playoffs, if you have the McDonald's app, you get a free Big Mac. So I'm hopefully they're going to because I need my Big Mac, brother.
Hey, listen, yeah, I might have to switch jersey for the day. I might have to take it right out. I mean, a Big Mac on the line. Hey, listen, that's better than the free chicken nuggets the
Yeah,
Sixers
for the
give you.
Fritos. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah, it's looking good. Like I said, there was a lot to take away. It's still, like I said, Flyers up 3-1, and like Dana Vidar said, if you would have said back in October the Flyers were going to be 3-1 in a series
Yeah.
against the Penguins, you would tell this guy is on some. You might want to tell him to get drug tested, but no, he's actually playing great hockey. They're playing great stuff. Like I said, this is a young core group, and like you and I kind of talked about it last week where the storylines were different. Like Steve chimed in last week saying, "Well, the Sixers in the playoffs and no one's paying attention." No, they are, but the Flyers are. It's the same story. Here we are winning and praying that Joel Embiid can get on the floor compared to a 76ers team that's young, hungry, and wants to play games. But Paul, listen, we're going to switch topics. We're going to move on. Thursday night, it was great to be on with you on Out of Box talking draft. It was great to be with you and your crew. But here we are, draft. The smoke is cleared.
Well,
I'm gonna ask you to sit at the teacher's desk. Bring out everyone's gonna come. All 32 teams are gonna come with their paperwork, and you're gonna you're gonna grade it. So you have
uh,
the fly. And I'll start with my Eagles. A lot of people are excited. A lot of my coworkers are excited. Me, I don't know. I think you could address the position of need instead of the position that you wanted, the best player available. And I get it. Look, Makai Lemon's a great wideout. Looks like a big slot receiver and all that, young stud. But I think you needed to get work on that offensive line. You need it because it's aging. You need to me, I would have went for a top tier safety, something of that nature, because you just lost that. instead of going in for your 300th wideout.
Yeah, Pat, I agree with you. I mean, Malachi Lemon is a generational wide receiver coming out of USC. Nice hands. This guy has charme. He don't drop anything. His catch radius is, amazing. I've watched this kid play USC many a times. I love the kid. I mean, he's a four-star player, number one. But you're right. Addressing the needs is a little bit different. I mean, you need safety help. You lost Reed Blankenship, but Pat, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this wide receiver room, you got 35 wide receivers in a room right now. There's basically two guys odd man out. Lemon is definitely going to make the team, but then you look at the AJ Brown factor here. Okay, is this telling me the writing is on the wall? June 1st, he's definitely out of here. But then you're moving Devontae Smith to a one wide receiver spot, the elite one. To me, he's a great wide receiver, Pat. But right now, you can't have two slot receivers in this game. You have Hollywood Brown, you have Devontae Smith, basically 6 foot and under, under 150 pounds wet, both these guys. Devontae, if he takes these hits up in the middle, running drag routes, slant routes, he's going to get hurt, Pat. I mean, Lemon is a big wide receiver, but he's not the true AJ Brown physical guy. He's more of a speed demon at USC. USC's built for speed. Watch their games. They're like nine routes going deep on the ball. He's not a drag route runner, a wide receiver. I feel it's a good pick, but Pat, I do agree. I give this pick a B, honestly, and not because I'm a Cowboy fan, Pat. It's basically addressing needs right now. That's just how I feel about the draft with the Eagles first round with Malachi Lemon.
Well, same. Like again, I want to go over there. Here goes their picks. They got Makai Lemon with the 20th. Obviously, they swapped with the Cowboys. Then they got themselves Eli Stowers
Out
from
of
this,
Vanderbilt.
in the second round from Vanderbilt. Then the third round they went Markel Bell, offensive tackle from Miami. Then they went Cole Payton from North Dakota, quarterback. Makai Morris with the 61, offensive guard from Georgia Tech. And then they won Cole Lewinsky, I guess, safety from Texas Tech, and then they won that what's the Bernard kid from what's Africa, and then
Yeah.
they won Keyshawn James, edge rusher from New Mexico State.
Now the second round pick, Eli Stovers. I do like the kid out of Vanderbilt. He has a lot of speed. Grant Katara. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but you come from Goddard being a one tight end, number one elite. Then you go to Calcaterra, but I like Eli Stovers. The only problem is he's not a pass blocker, Pat. You go back to like Brock Bowers with the Raiders when he came out of Georgia. He is a true tight end. He's a run blocker, a run stopper. If you had to put him in the box for extra help, Eli is not that guy. I've seen a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, this guy is incredible." Go back and watch film. Go back and watch the 11 games. He missed a lot of pass blocks being protection help. That's the only downfall in him. He's a great catch guy. I do love that. A Bell out of Miami. Now this kid, Pat, he's like 6 foot. He's like 7'8", Pat, like 300 some pounds. Great run stop. I mean, run blocker. But the thing is, he's not fast off the edge. That's why he dropped to the third round, Pat. A lot of people look at the size and say this guy is a monster. He is a monster. But Pat, when you're on the line, footwork is everything about you. You can be the biggest guy with no footwork and be bad. So I like the pick. I think he's a project, Pat. He's a depth guy right now. Maybe in 2 to 3 years, you guys can work on him. But right now, that pick right there was a solid C for me. Maybe a little bit lower, honestly.
Wow. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny you say that because here comes K Swiss checking in from the Tech Talk and goes, "I love the UR Bernard pick." Um, how do you feel about that kid from Africa? What's something Bernard?
You know what, Pat? I don't know much of the game film of him. I really didn't see him, but I tell you what, after the third and fourth round, to me, those are depth players. You're looking at special teams players who can possibly make a team, like a Cubby guy coming in for you guys. The practice dummy return guy. That's what I look at later on. Depth guys. I really focus. I didn't even watch the draft, Pat, after the third round. Basically, to me,
Yes.
you're looking at Mr. Irrelevant. Honestly, like half the players are just trying to make a team that's probably going to be on the practice team or end up getting cut or special teams. So I really focus on the top three picks in the 3 rounds. That's what I look at.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's like the guys, like you said, the 4, 5, 6s and all that stuff. You're just trying to make the team. My man John said, "Is today Rob Thompson's last day as a manager?" You know what? You know, Congratulations. It only took you 10 games that you losing Phillies. And then you finally bounced back to win yesterday. I don't know. I think, John, I think today could be his last day. But what does that if he goes down, the general manager needs to go down too. Dave Dombrowski is going to have to go down the toilet with him because he designed this baseball team. He knows Bryce Harper showed up yesterday. That's great. It's not going to be consistent. This team's not consistent. No, this is not. I'm not here for that. I'm not going to get my blood pressure up for these stinking Phillies. I could go all night and day talk about their starting pitching stinks, their bullpen stinks. They don't close out games. They're swinging outside the strike zone. This baseball team has a lot more issues than Sabino. So yeah, great for Zach Wheeler to be on the hill yesterday. Has 6 Ks. Great. I barely tuned in. I only tuned in through the commercial breaks and intermission for the hockey game. But yeah. So Paul, so overall, what grade would you give the Eagles?
I mean, based on 1, 2, and 3, Pet. I mean, I like the depth picks that you guys got 4 through 7. I do like them. There's a lot of utility players in there that could possibly make the team. Or they stay on the practice squad. Um, First round is a solid. I'm going to say a solid. Honestly, a B to me. I could give it an A. Eli Stovers is a B. And Bell, I'll give you a man. That's to me a C right now because that's a future move for me. He's not. He doesn't have the footwork, Pat. Honestly, that's just coming from my coaching side of the ball. I love offense. You know that, and being an OT, I feel it's a solid C pick. But to me, I give the Eagles overall probably a B, solid B, Pat. They didn't address a lot of the depths in the first rounds, first and second, third round.
Yeah, you say B. I'll go B plain.
Hmm.
B minus. Like I said, I'm glad. I just think you could attack the position needs early on.
Yeah.
Unless, like I said, I guess look, you're trying to give Jalen Hurts every sort of weapon at at his disposal.
Right.
But with all that being said, I think if you don't have armor for your knight, I mean, what good's his sword? If you don't have
Exactly.
armor to protect him, so I think he could be in a lot of trouble. Now let's get to the Cowboys side of things. Let's go because you were very excited. You drew a lot of eyes
Yeah.
on your short and all
Yeah.
that stuff. I will say that you got you can say Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State. You guys got Mekhi Lawrence. Again, 2 picks in the first round were home runs for the Cowboys. You guys got yourselves an edge rusher from UFC.
Hmm.
Then you guys went to LaShawn Berman. You guys went back to back with edges in the third round.
Hmm.
You guys are pretty much stopped up. You actually went Penn State
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Surprising. Surprising. Yeah. Um, yeah, Pat, that first round, Caleb Downs. Honestly, at 12, the Cowboys, there was no way. I was kind of concerned because, Pat, during the show that you joined us with, I was concerned that they give up to 12 and 20 to go up and get Sonny Styles. I didn't think he was the best player on the board. I was really ecstatic at 12, seeing Caleb Williams on the board. That was a no brainer to me. You got the best player in the NFL draft, Pat. Regardless, he's a safety that can play linebacker. He can play an island. He can play zone. He can play man to man. He's not afraid to tackle, Pat. This kid, to me, is the best player in the draft on the defense side of the ball, position wise. A true A plus for me right there. Um, Malachi Lawrence, I like this kid. A lot of people, I put on TikTok. He's not a name brand player. He played at USC. I'm UCF. I get that, but he's 6'3", 275, Pat. This guy's a gazelle. He played linebacker 2 years at UCF, Pat. He came down the defensive end because of the speed. He got too big to play linebacker, but he can cover. I love this kid, Pat. I really do. I think it's a solid A pick as well. He fits the need because this front four with Quinyon Williams, I feel this in Kenny Clark there. This is going to be a huge defensive line. This is going to be a true 4-3 line under, of course, your Eagles defensive coordinator that's with us now. He loves this guy. This was his pick, Pat, honestly. And then you go to Berneman out of Michigan, a linebacker, solid pick. He's a starting guy. He's played inside, but Schottenheimer already said they're going to move him to outside linebacker. I love this kid as well. Um, the one that I'm concerned about is the guy from Penn State. This guy, Pat, he's 6'6", almost 300 pounds. Just like I said with Bell from coming up from Miami. Great run blocker, Pat. But, man, when you're on pass blocking, it's kind of an island, Pat, because he has the strength, but he doesn't have the speed there. That's my issue with him. The only thing I didn't see the Cowboys address was possibly another running back because the running back size of the Dallas Cowboys are very small. Javonte Williams, Then you go to a guy that's 180 pounds wet, Jaden Blue, on a rookie deal coming in last year, coming in. I would like to see them get another running back, but they didn't address that at all. But of course, free agency comes up and trades come up, so maybe we can get that. But overall, Pat, very happy. The Cowboys have been drafting great the last 3 or 4 years. I give them that. But I give this Cowboys draft, Pat, 1 to say 4 rounds, a B plus here. First 3 rounds,
I
solid A.
I gotta agree. I think the Cowboys stacked up in their positions and needs.
Yep.
Again, that defense may come play out to be a top five defense. I know a lot of people go, "You're
Yep.
just no,
That's true.
it's looking really scary. We got a couple more comments. Let me address this. I bet I bet if the Phillies make the postseason, you're gonna believe in this team all year. No, I won't say that. I've seen this Phillies team be 12 games out and they make a run. I'm not saying that, but this team right now, you can't tell me that they got issues here in April. I seen the writing on the wall. I know this bull. I had feelings that the starting pitching was going to be problems. I had this. This is a aging baseball team. I can't. And then now you're saying, adorable. You're saying if they expand the playoffs, they will still have a chance. How many times you got to expand the playoffs for a team to get in?
Yeah, it's,
Make it
it's
even.
like participation trophies now, Pat. That's all it
Come
is.
on, you're right, Paul. I mean, like what? Like how many times you got to expand the playoffs for a team to get in? I don't want to hear that.
Like Pat,
But
I agree. Like some teams, you get hot at the right time. We see that, Pat. A Cinderella team coming in getting hot at the right time. But come on, man, what do you play for the 162 games? Let the best teams get in there. Don't give a team a participation trophy for just participating. That maybe you get hot. I don't want to see. I want to see the best teams throughout the entire year. That's who makes it, Pat. That's me.
and I'm sorry. What's your name again? Adorable. You're just trying to get. You're trying. You sound like a homer right now because you're trying to find. Trying
Ways
to
to get
find
in. Yeah, ways to get in.
ways to get in. You're trying to spend the playoffs. I don't like to tell you, but this team's 9-18, 9-18 with with major problems. Come on, man. But let's get back to the topic at hand about the draft. So you're giving the Cowboys a B plus. I'm
Yep.
going to get in that canoe as well. I think the Cowboys dress at every position need. Like I said, that defense may play out to be a top five.
Yeah.
It's going to look like a scary, scary squad. Like I said, to me, it depends what the Eagles, the Cowboys offense is going to look like.
Yeah, the offensive score, Pat. I mean, I had to address the issue. Went to the live draft. I said the defense, 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 defense was my draft this year. Everybody was saying go out and get a wide receiver. No, you have Pickens. You lost Tolbert this year, but Lamb and Pickens are 1A, 1B. Ferguson and tight end. Dak can play. You got to keep Dak upright. This offensive line, Pat. There is nobody over 27 years on this offensive line. They are built for the future. 4 starters, in the last 4 years. You know, I love this offense. Defense, you had to go there. The only downfall to me is more out of Florida there. He's a small corner that we have. I don't know how he's going to pan out. That's something I want to see because opposite of Bland, we know what Bland can do. Losing Diggs, I'm glad Diggs is gone. He was overpaid, overhyped. Get out of here. But when you have Caleb Downs playing the safety who can come down play the dime if he has to play any corner on each side, he's a hybrid guy, and he's going to be teamed up with Malik Hooker, who's a veteran in the league. I think he can teach him a lot. The ways of the NFL, keep him on the right side. Basically, I love the defense, Pat. I do think this Cowboys team will suppress the Eagles, if not take over the Eagles in the division this year.
Wow. So again, so Paul, in Paul's mind, where are you at as this all falls on Dak? Whether you listen, you got, like you said, you got an O line, you got a defense that can carry through some games if the offense ain't clicking.
Mhm.
How much of it is Paul going? If this guy straight falls again, I'm looking for the quarterback of the future now.
Yeah, it's hard, Pep, because we don't have the future quarterback on the roster right now. I mean, if Dak goes down this year, the season possibly could be a 4-13 season. Honestly, to me, the key factor for the Dallas Cowboys is, of course, the defense, Pat. I mean, last year we averaged 30 points a game and lost, 9 games, Pat. 3 games were teams that scored over 45 against the Giants being in a triple, basically a double overtime against us. There's games where the defense just let up so bad. Offense can score, but you got to score more than the defense, basically, that you give up. So it all falls down on the defense side of the ball to me. I'm not worried about Dak this year. He put up great numbers. I've been Man, Pat, you know me. I've been on the fence with Dak Prescott ever since he's came to this team because to me, you can be the best regular season quarterback, but what you do in the playoffs is what you're deemed with me. That's how you're graded. Two playoff wins, Pat, doesn't suffice being $60 million a year to me. But I'm more worried about the defense this year, Pat. I really am.
Well, like I said, there's a lot to be desired with both teams. Let's go, Paul. Though, let's take a look. Jay saying, "Let's go Eagles." Where are they going? Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I love my Eagles too, but the draft doesn't do me excited. But I do appreciate all the lifestyle. Paul, let's trust the rest of the NFC East. A lot of me and my brother were talking yesterday. We're scared. We definitely think the NFC East has definitely upgraded.
Yeah.
The Giants only grabbed, I think, one offensive player from Notre Dame, something Fields.
Yeah, no, Malachi Brown.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Malachi Fields. I'm sorry, Pat. Out of
yeah.
Notre Dame. Out of Notre Dame. Yes, wide receiver. Yep. I like the kid. Starting with him. I mean, I'm a big Notre Dame fan. You know that, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
I do the show on Saturdays with about Notre Dame, but Malachi Fields is only a 1 year starter at Notre Dame. He came over, in the transfer portal. This kid is a ball hawk. I mean, he has a catch radius, a lot of routes he can run. I love the kid. I think he will start in a slot. He's a little bit smaller. You put him with neighbors out there. I think he's a good wide receiver complement. But Pat, man, I tell you, they got the second best player in the draft, Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. He's teamed up with, Caleb Downs. They played so much together. This kid is nasty. He's a off the ball linebacker, off the ball edge. This kid is insane. They hit it out of the park with this guy, Pat. Then they turn around and go offensive line. That to me
Yes.
is this guy with Spencer Fano was the number two guy, Magamala out of excuse me. Oh god, excuse me. Just lost my voice there. I think this kid is generational, Pat, because the Giants, you got to keep Jackson Dart upright. I think this is a solid pick here. I love this pick. Then you go corner, Colton Hood. I mean, I said this
Mm-hmm.
guy's a player too. He's a ball hawk. The only downfall was him is he has to have safety help. He bites a lot. He's like the Trayvon Diggs, for the Dallas Cowboys back in the day. I do love this Giants draft, Pat. I hate saying this. I'll give you my top rankings for. I know it's early, Pat, coming into the division, but you know what I'll say now, Pat. I think the Cowboys win the division. I think the Giants make this big jump, Pat. I think they surpass the Eagles too. I think they finish second because Harbaugh. This draft was Harbaugh, Pat. He made a statement with this draft, Pat. You get rid of Dexter Lawrence. People were on the shelf like this guy's crazy. Who is he coming in this team? Getting rid of Dexter Lawrence. But Pat, man, he got a 10th pick in the first round for Dexter Lawrence, and he hit it out of the park with an offensive lineman, Pat. The best in the best in the draft.
Well, and to me, I definitely feel like the coach position was needed.
Yep.
John Harbaugh needed a new scenery.
Hmm.
He's coming to the MC East wide open.
Yeah.
He understands the Eagles had it for the last 2 years,
Hmm.
but you know what? He's got the quarterback of the future. He's got Scadaboo. He look, like you said, he has a wideout piece to go out
Yep.
there, and like you said, he constantly goes back and forth, with the defensive line, offensive line, defense. Like now, that team looks pretty scary right now. It
Yep.
looks uh, looking like they want to push the Eagles, looking like they want to push the Cowboys for a competition. If anything, like I said, I'm not the biggest college guy, but on paper, for positions needs, I may have to give the Giants an edge.
Yeah, I give the Giants an A, Pat. I mean, one, two, three. I give him a solid A. I mean, Arvell Reese, Magaga there. He had offensive tackle. Then you get Colton Hood. Colton Hood brings it down a little bit, like a solid B plus. But when you average an A plus and an A plus with a B plus, that's a solid A for me. I love the draft that the Giants did. On paper, Pat, you're right. They do look scary, but the Dallas Cowboys have been looking scary for the past 10 years on paper. And what happens there, but if Harbaugh can put this team together, Pat, I mean, he's a defensive guy. He puts this team together. Pat, you go back last year with the Ravens before he got fired. Their defense was still good, Pat, even though there was like 5 or 6 games where they were missing 7 defensive starters, and they still made the playoffs in the back end of the season, Pat. Harbaugh is a guy who I call a player coach. These players play for him, Pat, regardless of what your name is, what your record is. If it's a guy that can build this team, it is Harbaugh. I think it's a great pickup for Harbaugh to come over. And what he did in the draft, the Giants could be scary, Pat, because this guy's a no nonsense guy at all. So I think the Giants really hit this out of the park. A solid A.
Yeah, I gotta give the Giants a as well. I mean, like you said, new scenery, new hometown. Like he's got the players of the future in place.
Yeah.
But like you said, though, the only knock on the Giants is you've been paper champions
Yeah.
for the past 8 years, whatever. So we got a couple comments coming in. Brandon says the Eagles picked up a wide receiver from the draft to get rid of AJ Brown. Yeah, that writing's on the wall. And he goes, AJ Brown getting booted from Philly. Be careful what you ask for, though. As I know, a lot of people want to get this guy out of time.
Yeah.
A lot of people looking at this guy to be a diva, but you really got to be careful what you ask for. Like you said, you have a smaller group of guys that are going to be out there. Yeah, speedsters, that's great, but all it takes is one good shot, and these guys are going to be left like down flies.
I mean, in the NFL, Pat, you do need speed. I get that. Every team, if I'm coaching, I'm running a hybrid offense, three wide, four wide, possibly one in, one back. But my thing is, you're going from physicality in the NFC East to basically, the other divisions where you play speed ball. You do need that faster, that big physical guy like an AJ Brown. I get the diva mentality, but you do need that physical guy out there. AJ Brown is that physical specimen. He's that DJ Metcalf who can, push off a DB and get that ball and move the sticks. My philosophy: 4 times 3 equals first down. Move the ball all day long.
That's all you got to do. And so we got Sean Kilrain checking his word is Harbaugh ran a tough camp, running practice in the summer, full pads, and all Hines and the injuries from what Zay Flowers said. Interesting to see where they go. Paul, I'll give you that one.
Harbaugh's an old school coach, man. He's been there, done that. He's played in the NFL, so he's been there. He's old school. He comes out there and says, "Hey, back in the day in high school, we had hell week. Practice 3 times a day. 5 to 7 in the morning. You got a lunch, practice well, and before you go to bed, you practice from 6 and 8. That's Harbaugh. He's old school. He believes in the mentality. What you do in practice is going to be a lot easier than what you do in a game. You practice hard, you play in a game easier. I love Harbaugh. Nowadays you get fined for, wearing pads on a certain day. Like that to me is BS. I practice hard. Because what you do on the practice field is what you're going to do in a game. And it makes it easier when you're practicing 5 times a week and only playing one game. I agree with Sean though, but I don't agree with the NFL saying you got to slow it down for injuries. Football's a physical sport, man. I mean, pretty soon, Pat, we're going to be wearing flags and bubbles on us.
And like I said, what do you want? I mean, yes, there are people got to understand there are going to be those hard old school,
Yeah.
there's there's old school coaches where they're going to you expect the best because they've seen success out of it.
Yeah.
The guy's got, like I said, look at his resume. He's got a Super Bowl under there. You got to go with, like, he knows how to win in this league. You have to understand that. Like, I just don't get some of these people like, oh, he's too rough on us. Like, what do you expect? And then if you go too soft, and then they're not going to get the best of their players. Like, there's some coaches are rougher than others. You just got to see what fits. I'm sorry, you stop being soft.
When Shane was 5 and 6 years old, you grew up with little Shane as his big brother, basically. At 5 years old, I'm having crab crawling all the way up Wissinoming Park down there. Just crab crawling at 5 years old. People are like, "You're being too hard on this team." I'm like, "I'm the daddy now. Leave me alone. I'm gonna get these kids where they want to be one day."
And listen, I remember this day. So, Sean checking his NFL reality allowed Devontae Lawrence in his linebacker room, premier run Stufford with a high football IQ, elite run stopper who reads plays quickly, fills the gaps, and plays with high energy.
Yeah.
And so, and he's like the UFDA signing. Yeah, go ahead, Paul. You address that.
You do get some good players out, like in the USFL, things like it's just free agencies. I like how because going back to the Cowboys, we got Cavante Turpin from the USFL. This to me is like a JV league that you can't make the NFL, but when you have film on practice of what you can do, Turpin he got paid. He's a great kick returner. He's a great slot receiver. Great, I think he had 3 touchdowns last year just for the Cowboys on kick returns. You get some good players in the gyms out there. The USFL is a farm squad for all NFL teams now. They're the 5th, 6th, 7th round players out there. You're going to find a gem out there somewhere. Every team finds one.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a fun waiting game to you. But Paul, we got someone in the background real fast. Ray's chiming in. He says, Ray says do the Flyers finish the Pens in 5? I don't know. I want to say yes. If I'm going to be a homer, I'm going to wear the orange and black sunglasses. I'm going to say yes. They're going to do that. I don't know. I'm just going to be talking from my heart. I don't know because we know this Crosby guy who's been around the league for quite some time knows how to get the job done. And you want to talk about a high IQ. This guy, if you haven't paid attention to Crosby's game, he knows how to win a little bit. He knows how to win. Listen, the Penguins right now, the most dangerous animal. Their backs are against the wall, so they're doing anything to survive right now. But anyway, my man, we got a great guest about to come onto the show. If I call him the face of basketball, especially local hoops, college, all that stuff. I mean, it's great to talk to this guy whenever I can in the presser, whether it's here, New York, whenever I get to see this guy. He's a great voice. Like I said, he covers the Flyers, covers the Sixers, covers the Phillies. I mean, he's everywhere, man. And now he's got a new book that's coming out. Talking about Iverson. So no further than less, let's bring on my man, the legend himself, Aaron Bracey. Aaron, good morning, sir.
Pat, Paul, what an introduction.
Well, listen, it's glad to have you back on the show, Aaron. Listen, prime time game tonight. I'm going to get right into it. 76ers, Boston Celtics. First of all, I got to ask you, what do you remember most about this rivalry?
Wow. Just the great games, just no love lost between the cities. And isn't this what makes sports so great when you have these rivals? And it's so much fun. Just Celtics, Sixers. Like, I was a little too young. The really great 76ers Celtics rivalries, I think, were Andrew Toney, Larry Bird, Maurice Cheeks, Moses Malone, Dr. J. I was a little too young. Some of the more recent rivalry games between the Sixers and Celtics, I don't think have had the same cachet. But you think about that was more than 40, almost 50 years ago, and people are still talking in some ways about those series, or at least the feelings of that Sixers-Celtics rivalry. I don't know that it has the same animosity as it once did, and I think that's in large part because the teams haven't been quite as good, at the same time. And even now, the Celtics are clearly a better team, particularly without Embiid. But I have to say, like, Friday night's game was really one of the best games I've seen, definitely this year. Just the intensity, the fan interest, obviously the 76ers lost, but just a really great game, and looking forward to Game 4 tonight.
Agree. Like I said, it should be great. Like I said, after Game 1, it looked like a dog walk. It looked like the Celtics dropped 32 points on this team and left them high and dry. Like, I'm thinking, is this what the series is going to be? Is this what it's going to is this what's going to turn out to be? But Game 2, the Sixers battled for 3 quarters of basketball. Now, like I said, Friday night's game, the Celtics just punished the Sixers from the perimeter. You got Jason Tatum, who's a killer. You got Brown's a killer. They both equal dropping on 25 points. You got Peyton Pritchard, who had 5 threes. I mean, it's hard to contain those guys, especially, like you said, without Joel Embiid. And I don't know if they're trying to rush him back into this game. I don't know where he's at, because it said on Friday night's game, it was decision time 2 hours prior to tip-off whether he was going to be in the game or not. So, to me right now, I'm better without him. I appreciate what he could do on offense, but right now he's going to be – I don't want to see him limping up and down the court. He's going to be too slow on the court. And now offense ain't afraid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want a healthy Embiid, but that's a big question. Is he going to be healthy? And with his appendicitis, you have to be concerned about his ability to set screens, which is a big part of their game with the pick and roll. So for me, his health would come first. So I would not want to see him out there with any health risk. If he's able to play, physically able to play, the 76ers are clearly a much better team with him. And the Celtics, they're really tough and experienced down low. And I think Adem Bona did a really good job when he was in the game on Friday night, but he got himself in foul trouble. And when he left the game, when he got his 5th foul in the 4th quarter, I thought the tide really shifted then. And Andre Drummond, I thought, did what he could, but not the same level of athleticism as Dembona provided. And but you mentioned Tatum and Brown, and just going back to Friday, I thought Jalen Brown really took over that game in the fourth quarter. He scored 8 straight points. He had a steal, and I thought he was really the catalyst. And then Tatum hit the big three late. Obviously, Peyton Pritchard had a big three. But the Celtics, they can just beat you in so many ways. And the 76ers, I think they have obviously a lot of potential. And with Maxey and VJ in the backcourt, they have one of the best backcourts in the NBA. But I think Maxey is his finger, I think, is bothering him a little more than I think he's like letting people know. And he didn't shoot very many 3-pointers in the game on Friday, and they need him to do that to open up the spacing of the floor. So we'll see if he does that. But Joel is doubtful again tonight, and he is doing individual workouts. He is scrimmaging with the team, but I think he's scrimmaging with the team. I know he's doing individual workouts, but I don't know. Again, it's the physicality and having that appendicitis surgery 2 weeks ago. I just don't know if it's in his best interest to be out there tonight. We'll see.
Now, Aaron, you said physicality coming off that pick and roll, and also you said the Celtics are experienced down low, of course, my concern is if Embiid does play on a minute restriction, let's just say he gets 3 or 4 minutes a quarter, say 12 minutes total in the game, 3 minutes each quarter. I think the Boston Celtics are so poised and veteran. They're going to spread this field. They're going to go small and make Embiid play, a forward position out front, not the five down low where he can just rest in his zone. Do you think if he does play, the Sixers go to more of a zone? This way they can keep Embiid in the middle and keep him not being gassed on defense. Because on offense, that's his key. We've seen it in the past, Aaron. When he gets gassed, he just sets up posts at the 3-point line and just with the hands on the knees. That's something I'm concerned with because the Celtics are a veteran team where Pritchard can come out there. They can shoot. This team, Sherman can shoot as well. How do you think the Sixers do this if Embiid plays?
Yeah, that's a really great point, Paul, and something that we hadn't talked about, hasn't been talked about a ton. We're talking about Joel's health and whether he can get out there with appendicitis, but his conditioning is going to be a huge factor, and that's over his career has been a big challenge. This year, I thought his conditioning has been excellent, but he hasn't. Who knows what he's been able to do in the last few weeks? And if now you're trying to get back into not just an NBA game, but an NBA playoff game. And so, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to protect him a bit on defense. But if you go zone, as you mentioned, you're just exposing yourself to Boston's strength even further, which is their perimeter shooting. And I know they struggled some in game 2. I know they haven't been shooting the ball quite as well as they can, but they certainly showed on Friday night in game 3 their ability. And they have just so many guys who can hit the three. It's not just Tatum and Brown and Pritchard hit the three. You got, I think Luka Garza even hit a three. You just have so many guys. So I think going into a zone is you may need to do that depending on Embiid's condition, but then you're only exposing yourself to Boston's perimeter shooting. So I don't know that there's a real good answer, and I think, quite honestly, that's why we're not going to see Embiid unless I think he can be Embiid. Because, I think I heard somebody say a 70% Embiid. I think it was one of the 76ers might have said a 70% Embiid is still a really valuable Embiid. And I'm just not sure in this series if you can put him out there unless he's in the physical shape to be able to do what he can do, which is obviously, he can do stellar, amazing things. But if he's not himself, I almost feel like, I think, Pat, you said it. You might be better off right now just riding with Bona and Drummond if he can't play at a level that this series demands.
Pat, I do have one more question for Aaron.
Good.
Pat knows I'm an old school player, and Aaron, you brought tears to my eyes when you said, back in the day, physicality of it. I still remember the choke between Larry Bird and Dr. J, things like that. I'm an old school guy. I'm turning 55 this year, and to me, I'm an old school guy who appreciates physical basketball. Now, when you mentioned pick and roll with Embiid with the appendicitis here, back in the day, you have, the Chief, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, Larry Bird, who will take a shot right to your rib zone. Now, I know, You know old school basketball there, Aaron. Do you think nowadays a player with this, with the Boston Celtics, with the rivalry here, if Embiid comes off a pick and tries to roll to the basket there, do you can you see one of these Boston Celtics just taking a little chicken wing and hitting that appendix there? I mean, it is a rivalry game here. Would you ever see something like that? Because back in the day, there was no flagrant fouls, Aaron. You know, you
No,
go to the line with one eyeball, one hand, and no legs. You just got two free throws. That's it. Now you're kicked out of the league for God knows how many games.
yeah, Paul, it's a great point, and it's funny you say that. A couple things I would like to mention about that, but um, the game today, there's more of a collegiality, and it's not that fierce hatred between players. And I think part of that, quite frankly, is there's so much player movement. Back in the old days, as we're mentioning, you had a team, they kind of stayed together for a period of time, and they became rivals with the players that they played against, their opponents. Now their opponents next year could be teammates. So you just don't see the same level
Yeah.
of hatred. But having said that, a couple things. On Friday night, we did see a lot of physicality. We saw Paul George take an elbow to the groin area from Jalen Brown. We saw some very physical play from Kelly Oubre. Andre Drummond got a technical foul with a hard, I guess, a hard shot to the face of the Celtics backup big man. Um, but it's funny, Pat, you mentioned the book on Iverson. I would love to just touch on it a little bit at some point, but it just brought up, Paul, your conversation brought up, I interviewed Sam Cassell for the book. Sam played for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yes.
The 76ers played the Milwaukee Bucks in 2001 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And in game 6 of that series, Scott Williams just absolutely decked Iverson. Just a shot right to the right clavicle. Scott Williams got suspended for game 7 as a result. And Sam Cassell was also telling me, like, we were doing everything. We were doing everything trying to knock Iverson out of the game, but he was just so tough. But that was the way the game was played. And he said, hey, we were competitors. No one was trying to, we weren't trying to, like, injure him or end his career. But, we knew that Iverson was kind of the cog in the wheel. And so, yeah, the game's different today, Paul. But I do think the level of physicality in the playoffs and in this series in particular has been definitely ratcheted up from what you would see in the regular season. And quite honestly, really fun to see. It's been really, I thought Friday night's basketball game was just tremendous. If you're just a fan of the game, obviously 76ers fans came on the short end, but just a tremendous basketball game.
Agree.
And part of the reason is that physicality.
Well, it's funny because we're talking about the physicalities, we're talking about the fighting. Like, look at last night, right? Look at the Joker, because of the scruff he had last night. Because he were losing, so he tried to answer it to with Minnesota, try to have a little scruff on the side, and he said his post conference, he has no bones about it. He don't feel bad. It is what it is. Some things just have to take place. He has tried to rally up his team because some things, but listen, some old school mentalities live some of these guys' head. But I'm going to talk about the game because Aaron, we're talking about it. We're talking about game 4 going to be a big game tonight. Going back to game 3, I think the 76ers played really well, but look, it's exposed. The 76ers need someone to make a step forward off that bench, and they need to show they got depth. And I thought Justin Edwards was going to take that major step forward, and he took like 8 steps back. And it's just like, man, and it does kind of linger. Like, what if Oubre, was still here on the team, McCain? What if he never would have got traded? This is where you could have used him because, and this is where it makes you shake your head. Like, why moved on from him when he could have been a huge asset now? Going against the evil umpire from Boston.
Yeah, I mean, the 76ers certainly need some more production off their bench. They could use some more from Quentin Grimes, more from Justin Edwards, as you mentioned. But really, for me, they're going to need more from VJ tonight than he gave in Game 3. And I know that's a lot to put on a rookie, but when you score 30 points and have 10 rebounds in a Game 2 win at Boston, obviously he scored 34 in the season opener up there. Like, it does raise the expectations on what he can deliver. And I think there were a couple times on Friday where I think he passed up on some shots. And I think Nick Nurse spoke afterward about the need for, when the shot's there, for VJ to take it. They need him to be a scorer, to produce, particularly without Embiid. So I think for the 76ers to win tonight, like you're going to need, yes, a little bit more from the bench, particularly defensively, if you can. They have Justin Edwards in there as a bigger wing to try and guard Brown and Tatum, which no one can really do, to be honest. I mean, they're two of the best players in the league. But I think you're going to need what you had in game two. You're going to need what Maxey had 28, Edgecombe had 30. You're going to need similar to that. If Embiid doesn't play, you get another good game from Adem Bona, but stay out on the court. Don't pick up a silly foul. Like that fifth foul, he's fouling Jason Tatum, 25 feet away from the basket. That's silly. So I think for the 76ers to win tonight, I think it's really going to be on the backcourt shoulders on Maxey and Edgecombe.
I think Edgecombe has to. I mean, he went 0 for 7 in the last game. For threes there. I think he needs to put his head down and get to the hole there. Because just like you said, nobody can really guard Tatum or Brown. But I think you need to expel energy on the defense on the opposite side of the ball to make Brown or Tatum guard you, to take away a little bit of offensive power from them. I think you just get to the hole, try to draw contact, because when you're having a bad game, the charity stripe's your best friend. You see the ball go in the hoop. That to me is a big momentum there. I think Edgecombe needs to be a little more physical, getting to the lane and stop shooting, outside threes. Take what the defense gives you, but put your head down and get to the hole. Make them guard you. Make them put a little bit more gas out of their tank.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, Paul. And I think part of the reason maybe he wasn't able to do that quite as much is because maybe that's why they want Maxey to shoot more threes to open up some more space on the court.
Right.
I mean, it's when you're looking at it, like Boston is just so good defensively, and they're just so big and so long. They take up so much space. Like it seemed like when 76ers were able to get to the basket, most of it was in transition with Maxey getting ahead and using his speed. But like the lanes just clog up. And I think quite honestly, Paul, that's where you really miss Embiid, because that pick and roll game that he has with Maxey, the high pick and roll, top of the key, it's so effective because Embiid is so versatile and he can do so many things. He can hit the outside shot. He can get to the hole. It causes so many problems defensively. And the 76ers don't have another big who can cause those kind of problems. And quite honestly, there aren't very many in the league who can do what Embiid can do. So it's not really throwing shade at Bona and Drummond. It's just pointing out how great Embiid is offensively in the pick and roll and why his presence would be so valuable to them if he's healthy.
Yeah, and you said too, coming off the ball with a pick there, Embiid can drive to the lane, he can step back, shoot the mid-range jumper or the three. And the greatest thing is when he comes down the lane, there's going to be a wing coming off the edge, and he can hit the outside guy, the three-man, the power forward or the shooting guard out there. He can just kick it out there for an easier look, instead of, they have to clog the lane with Embiid coming down. But I just don't know. If Embiid's not healthy, Aaron, I just can't play him, because I'm a person that wants to have healthy players out there. And if you're not 100%, I hear the 70%, 80%, but you're putting your team in a bad position as well, because you're going to be gassed. You're playing 4-on-5.
Yeah, so I'm with you guys. I'm with you, Paul. I'm with you, Aaron. By the way, guys, we have Aaron Bracey joining the show, guys. Make sure you're chiming in on the YouTube, all of our social media platforms. We're all everywhere. The Pat Bull Show is live here on, like I said, all your social media platforms. Aaron, I gotta talk with you too. I mean, we're talking. You guys are talking about kick screens and all that stuff. I want to know, like, what can Nick Nurse do different if they decide to roll out Embiid? I mean, where are you guys judging Nick Nurse now?
Well, I honestly think, I know there's been some criticism of Nick. I think he's done a good job. I think it's a challenge in some respects when your lineup is constantly shifting. And I think one of the biggest things that players need and want is role definition. And I don't know that the 76ers have had role definition this season. And I think in large part because of the constantly influx lineup. And I think that's hard for any team in any sport, basketball, baseball, football, you name it. Like, I think it's important for players to understand their roles, and just with the nature of Embiid being in and out of the lineup, Paul George's suspension, like when Paul George came back from that suspension and Embiid was healthy, there was like a week or so there, guys. I thought the 76ers looked great. And I think coaches oftentimes they're as good as their players. And I think when the 76ers have everybody in fold, I think obviously I think that's going to make the coaching staff look better. I think we need to see some adjustments in this game from Nick Nurse. We'll see. I mean, he has to figure out ways to get more shots for Maxey. He's got to figure out ways, as Paul said, to get VJ unlocked, whether it's figuring out ways he can get easier baskets or getting to the free throw line. And then, frankly, some of those that fourth quarter, the Celtics really they took over in the fourth quarter. So whether there are adjustments that need to be made defensively, or whether there's more pressure that needs to be put on them offensively, certainly some adjustments need to be made down the stretch because fourth quarter, the 76ers were just not able to match the Celtics offensively or defensively. So playoff series is cool because, you're only playing the same team over and over, and the matchups and the adjustments really you really see how the coaching staff can make those, and we'll see that tonight. And it brings to mind in 2001 some of the matchups and some of the adjustments Larry Brown made during some of the series that the 76ers played during that run. So I think we'll learn a lot more about Nick Nurse tonight. And again, hate to keep harping on it and coming back to it, but I think much of it will come down to tonight whether there's a healthy Embiid. I really like the 76ers' chances tonight with a healthy Embiid. Without a healthy Embiid, they're going to have to play like a near perfect game.
Yeah, and that's the way I feel. I feel like I just hope they're not going to try and rush him in from him trying to come in from this injury. I just hope, I just rather right now at the point, I just rather just see without, just to roll with it. Like you said, to me, Joel Embiid's got to be Superman for me to buy in that he's going to be okay. Like he found the fountain of youth, or Mr. Miyagi got to him backstage and fixes problems, and he's all healed up. But I don't see that going forward. But however, like I said, like you said, I need to see that dogfight. And speaking of dogfights, you were in the house there, Aaron. You got to see Iverson, and Iverson through the TV looked like through the sunglasses he wanted to suit up. Like he looked like he was playing through Maxey from his seat. Like Maxey with the pullback, Maxey with the pull-up jump shots, from the perimeter, all that. The way Maxey's just being a dog. I mean, you just saw through Iverson. Like he wanted to get in there bad. So, like I said, this rivalry's been going on for quite some time. Like I said, you talk about, Paul brought up about the Bird and Doc. There's been Paul Pierce. No matter whether he's always got to add his 2 cents in, whether he's on ESPN or wherever. He's always got to take jabs. But like that's part of the rivalry, and I respect. When it comes to Boston, the Bruins and the Celtics, it's like 1-1A. I mean, they know all those old school guys. They hate the Flyers or they hate the Sixers, and I can respect it. I mean, I'm glad that they take it to the TV when they're all done retired. I'm glad for that. But listen, let's talk a little bit about these books that you have. First of all, I told Joe, I was telling Paul that you're a big St. Joe's guy. Your book's been great. Explain where did you come up with the thought of wanting to be a writer and for this book?
Yeah. So where I want to become a writer? Well, I grew up reading newspapers, reading the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I thought I used to read Bill Lyon. He was the columnist in the Inquirer. Paul, you remember going back, and I thought like, wow, that'd be a really cool career. I love sports, and wanted to write about them. So I thought to be a good writer, I needed to read a lot of good books. So I began reading all the best books that I could read, and I thought, well, man, it'd be cool to write one of these one day. And it took me a while, but I got the idea to I wanted to do a feature story on the 20th anniversary of the 2003-04 St. Joseph's Hawks, and I started doing some research. And I was like, wait, maybe this will be the book that I always wanted to write. And so I wrote that book called A Soaring Season, The Incredible Inspiring Story of the 2003-04 St. Joseph's Hawks. It came out last March. As I was writing the book, I was like, man, this is really fun. And I made a list of some other ideas that I had. And last June, I started researching a book on the 2001 76ers. And just last Friday, I submitted the manuscript for Are You Kidding Me? The incredible, inspiring story of Allen Iverson and the 2001 76ers, which will be out early 2027. And I could not be more excited to get that in people's hands. It was so much fun to research and retell that story. That team was so magical. It captured the hearts and minds of Philadelphia and quite frankly, the nation. Just watching Iverson, that team, a bunch of role players, and it was just exhilarating and so much fun. And I can't wait to share.
Aaron, I do have a question. I'm a big, St. Joe's guy. Both of my kids went to St. Joe's Prep, actually. So, St. Joe's, Hawks there with the 2003 team. Um, are you still in contact with them? Jameer Nelson, Pat Carroll. I know Delonte West is kind of a hard, category to even get into right now. But are you still in contact with any of them? I mean, based since you did the book there, how was the interviews with that process being 20 years later, throughout the 20 years?
Yeah, it was awesome, Paul. And I interviewed everyone on the team, all the coaches,
Okay.
uh, except for Delonte West.
Yeah.
I was in communication with his family. We were not
Okay.
able to set up an interview. Obviously,
Right.
he's had some issues,
Yeah.
and thankfully, I've seen that it looks like he's down in Florida and maybe doing a little better. I do hope to speak to him at some point
Okay.
and would like that conversation to launch the paperback edition of the book. But the interviews were phenomenal. And I see Jameer sometimes because he's the assistant GM of the 76ers. See him down there occasionally. But Pat Carroll was phenomenal for the book. Jameer, Phil Martelli. I met Phil at his house. We spoke for 3 hours in his living room. It was tremendous. I can't thank those guys enough. Their memories. John Bryant was on that team. He is an assistant coach with the Chicago Bulls. When the Bulls were in Philly, I connected with him, spoke with him, and actually one of the other players on that team, Robert Hartshorn, who many people won't know, he was a walk-on, but very instrumental in helping them get better in practice. Robert Hartshorn was at that 76ers Bulls game, and with John Bryan, and Robert is a real character, and so we connected a bit, but. The interviews were fantastic, both the St. Joe's players and, I was able to interview, I think I forget how many interviews, 80 interviews maybe for the book. And I interviewed opposing coaches, opposing players, fans, support staff, and just so many people were so helpful, such great memories, and really thankful and grateful for the memories they shared. And I think one of the cool things about the book, having interviewed so many, is that even people closest to the team, like for instance, even Phil Martelli didn't know some of the stuff that he learned in the book. Like he had no idea Jameer was being recruited by UMass. And he thought Jameer was just being recruited by Temple. And he said, I'm glad I didn't know UMass was also recruiting Jameer because I slept better at night. But this was in the time before social media, so things weren't as, everything wasn't out there quite in the way that it is today. So there were a lot of little stories like that.
Now it's all transfer portal, Aaron. Everything's on
yeah,
the transfer portal.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but the interviews were just tremendous, and I still keep in touch and communicate with those guys occasionally. It was really, really, really fun.
That team was amazing. 30-2. That team was amazing. They had the heart of everybody in the world. Low school Cinderella team, but they were a powerhouse. 30-2 that year, man.
Like I said, it's a great book, guys. If you haven't got yet, scoring of the season again, written by yours truly right here, Aaron Bracey. Go check it out. It's in all your book. Barnes and Nobles. Go there. I've seen it. It's in there myself. So these not being there's no yes, but great stuff. Great book. But I want to talk about this upcoming book and Matt Cord, Aaron is getting ready to retire. This is his last hurrah with the team as being your PA announcer. And I saw him, the Lou Nolans, it's great to hear those voices, the voices of Philadelphia. And going back to that season, that 01 season, it does take you back, man. Matt Cord, Larry, Brown, and all those guys, Iverson, and what To me, more of the question is why that? Why the Iverson? Like you said, it was captivating. I mean, like I said, this is a 6 foot guard that just took the world, not just the Philly, but the whole entire nation by storm. It was the David versus Goliath. It was Iverson trying to take down Kobe and Shaq, and one game. I mean, obviously, but it was a great run. I mean, so why why feast you there? I mean, and you could have wrote about the '83 run, but why go the Iverson route?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Well, you mentioned Matt Cord, who's in the book. He was very gracious with his time. He told me some great stories, and have a one of the chapters is about kind of the environment of the home arena and how Matt kind of contributes to that. But why Iverson? Well, I think just Iverson is so captivating, and that team, like if you guys remember, like that team, there have been certain teams in Philadelphia that have really captured the hearts of the city. And not all the championship teams have necessarily. But for me, the 2001 76ers and the 1993 Phillies are the two teams that I think really resonated with Philadelphia in a way that I'm not sure in my lifetime any other team has. And I know those teams didn't win championships, but people love that team. They loved Iverson because of some of the things you mentioned, Pat, the David versus Goliath thing, right? He's a 6 foot, 165-pound guard playing in a land of giants. And yet Iverson was the Goliath. He was not the David. In fact, he said, I never saw myself as David. I always felt like I was Goliath. And people love that he would go up against Shaq. He'd take it right to the rim against Shaq. Shaq or some big guy would knock him down, and Iverson would bounce back up. And it was just that resilience, like resonated with people who Iverson, we could look eye to eye with him. He's not this like super human athlete in terms of size and strength, but in terms of the way he played, he was superhuman. And then around Iverson, you had all these guys who were they weren't stars. They were just role players. They brought their lunch pail to work every single day. They defended, they rebound. They didn't get the glory, but they relished in their roles. Aaron McKee, Eric Snow, Tyrone Hill, Theo Ratliff. And that's Philadelphia. Philadelphia is what those guys were, blue collar, and they gave everything on the floor. They played every day, no matter what condition they were, how hurt they were, how unwell they were. I mean, Iverson could barely walk in the playoffs. He was playing with a badly injured and bruised tailbone, and yet he continued to show up. He even had to sit out one game in the Milwaukee series in the Eastern Conference Finals, which speaks to how much he was hurting because he never sat out. If he could walk, he played. But I think that team, they really captured the hearts of the city in the way they played, and Iverson was just a superstar, and it was just an incredible run, and I think resonated with the city, and I just thought it would be a really cool story to retell.
Yep.
You said David versus Goliath. What I used to call Iverson, he's the best little man ever to play in the league, And also, as a boxing fan, he's pound for pound the best player I've ever seen, honestly. At his weight, as his stature, he's just amazing. He's incredible.
Yeah, you're right, Paul. And people have said that I think Mark Jackson, who is the 76ers post-game analyst, he played that year with the Golden State Warriors, Philly guy. He said Iverson is like the toughest person on earth, or something like that in the book. One of the things also about Iverson, Pat, is that he was like a cultural icon in a way that very few athletes have become, and he challenged the norm in the way that he talked, the way that he dressed, the way he wore his hair, his tattoos. Like that wasn't a regular thing then. And the NBA and maybe corporate America didn't always accept and embrace that, but kids and fans did. And over time, we've seen the impact that Iverson has had on the NBA, because today everyone dresses and has tattoos, and they wear their hair the way they want. And he, in many ways, allowed individuals to be who they are. and not just basketball players. I have some very powerful stories in the book from regular people who told me how Iverson made a difference in their lives because he allowed them to be who they were. And I also spoke to many NBA players, Kevin Durant, Giannis, Devin Booker, Jalen Brunson. As players would come in this year, I would speak to them. And so there's a whole chapter about Iverson's influence. But I think that's also one of the things, Pat, that I wanted to get into in the book, and I thought would be interesting to tell, is like the impact that Iverson has had on the culture, not just on the court, but off the court.
And you know, like again, I sit back, look at Iverson, and it's you're right there, Aaron. There's been teams here that didn't win it all, but they took over the city. You had, like you said, you mentioned about the 9-3 Phillies. If you want to touch base a little bit about the LOD team, that kind of again didn't win it all, got there. Got swept up by the Red Wings, but still, again, everybody was flyered up at the time. Then it was the Iverson show, and it was just something. There was something, like you said, 6 foot. He was him. He didn't give you like he wore his personality and who he was, and his heart was bigger than anybody I didn't know. And he like Paul said, pound for pound, he'll go toe to toe with anyone. Yeah, everyone makes the joke about we talk about practice, but still. I mean, when it came game time, he was locked in because anybody would trade in. I was like you hear today, like I hear with a couple of my coworkers and guys I do, they said, man, if Embiid had a little bit of Iverson's heart, he would be a player like that. We won something like that, another dog, and I don't know, like the last time you've seen a dog. I think that's what makes. Right now, this Flyers story, because the Flyers have been in irrelevancy for almost a decade since for the last cup run that they made, and I think the new storyline and the new core of this Flyers team has kind of caught people's eye. The young kids that are coming up core, what can be, how far can they take this? Because everyone knows you get a hot goaltender, we don't know, but I'm starting to see somewhat parallel with this poor Martone kid. Is only 19 years of age, and he's starting to catch a lot of people's eyes. So, I mean, it is, like I said, these guys who come out of nowhere and just want to ball out for the city. It's a beautiful thing. And like I said, I've seen Iverson, I think I want to say game 2 or no, I'm sorry. It was one of the last regular season games. And there he is with a fresh new Iverson, Flyers hat and, him rocking that. And just like I said, he wears the city on his sleeves everywhere, whether he's here, there, Phillies game, he's everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you mentioned, I just want to go back to the practice thing. That happened after the 2002 season.
Yeah.
And it's so funny today that that's still a thing. When you think about the NBA today, how load management is a thing and how players take so many games off. And Iverson was being criticized for, not going hard at practice. And yet he played every single game. And he in the book, I think I quoted him like, someone would have told me to do load management. That would be a suspension. That wouldn't be a load man. That would be a suspension for me telling me I can't play in the game. So, yeah, it is kind of in some ways sad. Like you mentioned, the press conference. It is in some ways sad that people know Iverson obviously because of who he is, but a lot of people think Iverson right away, think about the press conference, and it has a negative connotation. But he's like. No one, he said this, I quoted him in the book, this as saying this, something like, anyone who watched my career and watched and see all the accolades that I got, they have to know that I had to do some practicing to be that good. So I think also like all that practice, like Larry Brown was one of the rare NBA coaches that really wanted, like Larry Brown loved practice more than the games. So he demanded a certain level of practice that I don't think was common in the NBA. And I think that was kind of part of the chasm between Iverson and Larry Brown, and many of the feuds they had was over practice. In fact, if you guys recall, and this is in the book, it's kind of in the beginning, before the 2001 season, that summer of 2000, Larry Brown tried to trade Iverson because he didn't like the way he was practicing. He wasn't coming to practice. He was coming late. And they had a deal in place potentially to trade Iverson. But it is just somewhat ironic that we still talk about that press conference. And in the NBA today, guys are sitting out left and right. Iverson never sat out. Played every game. that he could. And as he said, I played every game like it was my last.
Yeah, you're absolutely. Yeah, Paul, you got a question?
Yeah, Aaron, going back to, I know with the big five here, I know you're big, big there. Um, I did read something, Bob. I know you know the name Robert S. Lyons, the Temple University Press in 2002. He wrote something. What to you is the Palestra pandemonium? I mean, five schools within a 17-mile radius. How did you feel with that? When I mean, I grew up in Philadelphia, being that long. I'm a Nova guy myself, so I've always been asked why is Nova in the Big Five here? They're not a Philadelphia school. They're an outskirt cool school. But how do you feel about the Palestra pandemonium in your words?
Yeah, you mentioned Robert S. Lyons, the great book he wrote, Plesser Pandemonium. Actually, a former colleague of mine. I worked with him when I first started. He covered the Flyers for the Associated Press, and I was helping him out. Really good man. Um, there's nothing, guys, like the Palestra. Paul, you've been there. You know,
Yeah.
Pat. I don't know if you've been there, but if you've ever been to a game at the Palestra where they're both rival fans pack the place, the corners are full, and nowadays you see it at the Philadelphia Catholic League semis and finals.
Yes. Yes.
I've covered thousands of games, hundreds of gyms, high school gyms, arenas, professional, college. There's no place, and there are no words that can explain the Palestra. It's just unmatched. It's I'm getting chills just thinking about
Yeah.
being there at a game where it's packed, and you just can't. The sounds, the sights, the feeling of being there, the history. It's just unmatched, and it's a special place. It'll be this year will be the 100. The Plester turns 100 this year. There's going to be several special ceremonies and games, and Ivy Madness will be there. Ivy League tournament will be there as part of the 100th anniversary. There's a film called the Palestra 100 that's being worked on. The Big Five isn't the same, as you guys know. It's still special, but it's not what it was, and that's okay. Things are different. College basketball is different. Transfer portal, NIL. It'll never. I doubt it'll ever be the same as it was. But just having the Palestra and having the Big Five is still special. And I've like I said, I've been. There are two places that I've been that have been the most, special type places or most amazing environments I've ever been are the Palestra and the Blue Horizon for boxing. Paul, you mentioned boxing.
Okay.
Now the Blue Horizon is no longer there. The building is still there. I think it's for sale. It's very sad, but Philadelphia people who are listening to this, anyone who's been to the Blue Horizon, like incredible environment. You can't put it into words. If you've been there, and if you haven't been there, it's really hard to describe. And those are the two places for me that are unmatched as far as venues that I've been to.
Aaron, I'll take it a step further. You mentioned, the Blue Horizon there. I had the privilege to actually, about 5 years ago, to go to Cameron Indoor. The Cameron Crazies down there. And someone actually asked me, how was it? And I said, I compare it to the Palestra back in the day. That's the feeling that you get, thousands of people, right elbow to elbow, standing room only, corner to corner, four corners just all put together. That's, I think the Palestra is right up with Cameron Indoor Stadium to me as an atmosphere for a game.
Yeah, I have heard that. I have not been to Cameron, so that's on my bucket list.
It's an adventure. It is.
Well, listen, Aaron, we're getting ready to wrap up the show here. Like I said, I'm, grateful, guys. Again, check out my man Aaron Bracey. Aaron, he's all over, guys. Check out his new, his book, The Scoring Season of the St. Joe's. And now you guys heard himself early, next year. His new book will be coming out. I got to ask this. I asked to every host, the person hops on with me. I imagine you're going to be down tonight covering the game. I would ask you if it was on the road. It's 7, 8 o'clock. I would imagine you're going to have dinner well beforehand. What is the dessert for Aaron? What would be your dessert? The Gobbler's got to know. The Gobbler's, the Gobbler's going to mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Yeah, well, the media room has the soft serve ice cream, which is wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
So I usually go for the chocolate and vanilla mix, and they have some toppings. I usually avoid the toppings unless they have the Heath Bar Crunch. And what I do is I put the Heath Bar Crunch at the bottom of the cup. So and then I put the ice cream. So then and I kind of mix it in so it's the topping doesn't just like fall off the top. So it's kind of all interwoven, kind of like a flurry. So that's my go-to. I try not to make my Sunday too big because we're trying to keep our as we're aging here, we got to try and keep
Yeah.
ourselves in shape. So just a little bit, just to take care of the sweet tooth, but definitely a go to of mine every time I'm down there.
Yeah, and that's you're exactly right. I mean, us older guys, we try to watch what we try to keep back, but Pat he eats everything. They kick him out, so that's kind of hard for Pat, right, Pat?
Hey, listen, I did a quick story. I remember was 2 years ago. I was covering NCAA lacrosse, and ESPN had their own little line, and I went to rub elbows with these guys. I'm like, I'm going to go hang out with them. So I go there, get my plate. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. They got cheesesteaks, hot dog. I mean, you name it. I mean, they got a dinner menu because the game started at noon. So I guess they wanted to give these beat reporters from all over the country a little taste of Philly. Well, I mean, they had cheesesteaks going, and I pull out two of them, and they're like, and the ESPN guys are like, they'll look at me like, "You going to eat that?" I said, "Watch." And I didn't care whether I was going to embarrass myself. I just wanted to, and I'm sitting there just devouring both these things. And I just went, "Oh my, who is this slob?" And I didn't care. I went to I showcased what my belly could do instead of just trying to be in a professional manner. I just went loose. That the belly took over the mind and just went to town. Like in most cases, wherever I see a buffet, I just the belly does the thinking. So, but no,
Hey,
and
Pat,
listen,
I got one question for Aaron.
yeah,
If you have like 1 minute, Aaron, ever since Jay Rice left Villanova, I mean, we've been blessed to see championship after championship with Nova. They went to Neptune there for a while. Where's Nova go? Because I'm a Nova person. I miss Nova days. March Madness. I don't even see them. They're barely getting in the NIT if now. What can Nova do to get back on track here? Is the coaching? Is the recruiting being a school that's been bypassed now? Where does Nova go from here, Aaron? In your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. Neptune was a really good guy. Came into a challenging situation,
Yeah.
both filling in for a legend and also during a very complex and changing time in college basketball with the NIL and the transfer portal. Villanova had built the program under Jay Wright on players who stayed and developed, became part of a Villanova culture, played a very unique style, and Neptune wanted to continue to implement that, but it was rather difficult in the way that the landscape is today where players don't stay. And I think that's quite honestly one of the reasons, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm speculating one of the reasons why Jay chose to leave when he did at the top of his game because of the changing landscape of college basketball. But last year, Kevin Willard came in from Maryland, and I did not expect them to make the NCAA tournament in his first season. I thought he would get them back to relevancy, but he had a fantastic season. They got back to the tournament. They were third in a Big East that was very top heavy with UConn and St. John's. They had some really good wins. They beat Wisconsin. They maybe didn't play as well in the tournament. Didn't play as well in the Big East tournament as maybe Villanova fans had hoped. But they did lose Matt Hodge to a season-ending injury in the Big East quarterfinals, I believe, and I think that really hurt their depth, which they didn't have a ton of their size. And they have Tyler Perkins and Matt Hodge coming back, which is something on which to build. But they're going to have to replace. They lost to Caden Lewis, they lost a bunch of players. But I do think with Kevin Willard, they have a really good coach. They got back to the tournament last year. Their transfer class, portal class, is I've seen it ranked very highly from on social media. Now we'll see. You kind of need to wait to see what happens once the season gets here. But Paul, for Villanova fans like yourself, I think you're in good hands with Kevin Willard. The alumni are supporting the program. They have the money. They still play in a power conference. I would expect Villanova to get back to what they were. I think they're kind of already on the way back to what they were. I don't know. Winning a national title, they won two in 2016 and 2018. It's really challenging today in the landscape. But I think they're a program that could be, I would say, like a national caliber program again. And I do expect that to happen under Kevin Willard.
Good, good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, listen, Aaron, like I said, thanks for hopping on. Aaron, where can everyone find you at before I let you go? What's it, what plugs can you send out so people can follow you, whether it's here, there, and
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Pat. In season, the website is big5hoops.com. I cover Philadelphia college basketball in season. On social media at Aaron underscore Bracy, Bracy Sports Media on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Um, yeah, I think that's some places. And yeah, you can find the book you mentioned, Pat, A Soaring Season, the incredible, inspiring story of the 2003-04 St. Joseph's Hawks, wherever books are sold, Amazon, Brookline Books is the publisher. You can find it at their website. And also there's a link at big5hoops.com where you can order directly through me. So I
Wow.
appreciate the time today, guys. Love your show. Love chatting about 76ers and the books. And it's been really fun. Thank you so much for
Aaron,
having me.
Aaron, as an old person, you gave me chills talking about the old Iverson, the old Big Five. You just took me down memory lane. And I actually got chills here just thinking about it. And I appreciate you hopping on. And Pat, this guy is amazing, like you said. He is a book of knowledge. And Aaron, thank you. First time meeting you. I'm blessed to be, on the same screen with you.
Thanks so much, Paul. I appreciate it.
listening, guys, that's my man, Aaron. Aaron, I know you got to get down there soon, and at some point, enjoy yourself. Let's go Sixers, and let's see what happens, guys. Again, big round of applause for my man Aaron Bracy. Again, he's on with the Pat and Paul show. Me and Paul now, like I said, we linked up. Like Paul's my new tag team partner. We've been getting things rocking and rolling. We've been doing this now for a little bit of time, but me and Paul go back. Uh, God, we go back almost 30 years of friendship, and yeah, he's like my second pop. He only lived 2 doors down from me, so if anybody showed me how to play hoops, it was because this guy over here. I mean, he put a ball in my hand. He really helped. He was like the coach of Edmond Street, our street, where we grew up. And he would take all the kids playing football, played all sports. He would take everyone down there. He was like, with his coaching background, he really helped a lot of kids. So I appreciate that. So again, this has been a great show, great interview with you too, Aaron, and Aaron. Enjoy the rest of the day, my friend. And like I said, we'll see what happens tonight. And like I said, go Sixers.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the game. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
See you,
Thank
buddy.
you. Stay safe.
That was our man, Aaron Bracy. He's great, isn't he? He's great.
Yeah, he's great, Pat. Like who reminds me of Pat. Honestly, sitting on the doorstep. You mentioned Edmond Street. It reminds me of me and your dad just kicking it, talking some sports old school. That's what it was like. Took me down memory lane here. When he mentioned the 2003, St. Joe's team, Jameer Nelson, Delonte West, Chet, Dwayne Jones. That, like, to me is like, wow. Like talking Iverson, the things he said,
Yes.
was just, it's amazing. That's what I like to hear, Pat. That was, man. I gotta go out. I gotta go to Amazon and actually get this book now. I'm actually probably gonna order it today, honestly. Yeah.
Well, listen, guys. Again, this has been a great episode, guys. Make sure if you haven't yet, go give the Pat and Paul show a follow on all your social media platforms because it's only going to get bigger and brighter from here. Like I said, 30 years of friendship between us two guys. Paul, I have asked Aaron. I got to ask you, what's the dessert on the menu?
Well, today, Pat, you know what? Man, last week we had some pasta. I actually did woke up this morning and I put something in the Ninja slow cooker. We're doing a boneless chicken breast tonight with some chicken gravy and probably some egg noodles in it with some on top of like mashed potatoes. Something slow cooked today, Pat, because I don't know. I have to eat some. I always have to have pasta, Pat, and I know that's probably going to be on your menu, correct?
Yes. The pasta salads for sure on the menu today. Uh, but like I said, though, it's going to be a great day. We got the 76ers, Celtics, 7 o'clock showdown. You have heard himself. Aaron's going to be in the house. Great
So
follows.
what's your score, Pat? What's your score tonight for the Celtics game, man?
I
Oh,
Celtics win. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to be
big,
positive.
big Pat, or
No,
the
it's
Sixers put up a fight?
put up the fight.
Okay.
But again, I think they just got nothing to guard the perimeter, and
Yeah.
that's again perimeter punishment will continue to flow through with South Philly tonight. So, and if to me, if they put Embiid on the floor, it's going to be the biggest mistake that could possibly happen. But guys, again, Paul, what's your predictions?
I got the Sixers losing tonight. I think it's going to be a little bit close, Pat. But I mean, it's going to be a tale of two cities. If Embiid plays, he plays. If not, but I think the outcome is already set in stone. I think Celtics probably by 10, and I'm probably going to go a little bit higher than what the last game was. I'm going to go 110, 100 here. I think Tatum and Brown just take over this game and just show them what Celtic basketball is about tonight.
And that's more likely they will. But anyway, guys, and you guys, again, give my man Paul Spencer a follow. Follow Out of the Box. Great shows over there. Give him a follow. And then stay tuned because next week, like I said, we'll be back here. I already got another interview lined up already. So we'll be talking some more of that. As Joe Julia from WIP will be more likely joining our show next week. But anyway, guys, have a good one. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.